turning the recorder back on, so at least we have a bit of a record of this if anybody wants. So I guess, Darcy, I don't know if you want to kind of start, or if you want me to kind of start just off of our AGM minutes here from that Caitlin put together, or Caitlin, if you want to read it off. Doesn't matter to me.
We should, did everybody receive the agenda?
Probably not, so I can just kind of give you, or maybe they did.
Okay, well, so okay, if that's it, we can't adopt the agenda then. So again, like we were saying, I think we'll have to make the formal AGM when we've got some more people with quorum. But what we'll do is maybe I can provide an update on some of the topics that we've been talking about as an executive, and some of the updates from APEGS and CIM. So on the APEGS side, I think that probably the biggest thing is APEGS has been doing a strategic review of their structuring. And one of the topics that came up was how they deal with constituent societies. So what this is essentially is identifying that it's not APEG's job to provide professional development opportunities, but they need to depend on constituent societies that they can work with to determine professional development opportunities and proper experience. So CIM Geological Section would be an example of, and the SGS in Regina would be an example of constituent societies that APEGS is considering adopting more formally to say, you know, it's not necessarily their role to provide that training, but they need to have a close relationship with organizations that do provide training. So we'll see some changes in APEG's structure coming up here over the next few months as they sort of change their internal structuring to provide more regulatory oversight rather than so much an advocacy group. You know, they've identified that they're not here to advocate necessarily for engineers and geoscientists, but to regulate them. And so they're basically reviewing how they're going to interact with groups like ours in providing support and getting feedback and providing opportunities. So we'll see what shakes out coming up. I don't know what that'll have necessarily for impact. And then absolutely chip in anybody else that has any thoughts on that related. But so our relationship may change a bit with APEGS, but I don't think it's going to decrease in significance. If anything, we might increase a bit in significance. And then
you covered it pretty well there, Darcy. Thanks.
Okay, good. And then on CIM National, I did have a chance to sit in on a CIM National work group session. CIM National is doing their 3-year strategic plan right now. And with the effects of the pandemic, of course, on them, they're doing a lot of review right now on what their role is nationally, as they kind of realize that being a very conference-focused group, that there was some weak points. And so when they got all constituents together from across Canada, they asked us, you know, basically what they were doing well, what they needed to change, thoughts. And actually what I found very interesting is a lot of the complaints that we've had about National recently have been confirmed or repeated by other constituents. So the primary issues that came up were that each individual society tends to be very siloed. We don't really get a chance to work with other groups. For example, the mining group in Saskatoon, we really don't have much interaction with, even though we're in the same city. And this was repeated across many of the groups in Canada. You know, the group based out of Flin Flon in Manitoba had some of those issues. So I think the feedback to National was, right now, we're very siloed. And then secondly, the cost of the CIM National membership was also raised as a major issue, as groups indicated that for most professionals, they've got multiple professional fees that they've got to pay with APEGS and with other memberships, and that companies only have so much patience on paying these fees, and that more often than not, CIM National is being pushed to the bottom of the queue because there wasn't as much benefit for members as other societies. So the feedback in general from most of the groups to CIM National was, you guys have to get better at breaking down some silos between the groups and getting better at communicating, providing more member benefits that actually give us good reason to pay that national fee, and then act as more of an advocacy group or a coordinating group. So there's lots of training opportunities across Canada for professionals, but there's nobody that really coordinates it across the nation to the degree that CIM National might be able to. So they're going to go back. They've hired a consultant to help them with the strategic plan, and we'll probably hear more about that in early next year as to what their thoughts are, what they need to do or change. So for now, I guess we can just say that a lot of the issues we've had with being part of CIM National is not unusual compared to the other groups, and that CIM National is going to have to try to decide how they want to address that and move forward. So potentially we'll see maybe a bit more involvement and benefit from being a part of National. It sounds like the local branches and chapters are doing very well, but they're just not seeing a lot of benefit in belonging to the umbrella organization. And I think that's all I've got on those 2 points.
No, I think you basically covered it as well. And I mean, it'll, with the APEGs kind of review going on, and with CIM National also doing a review, there's a lot of potential for changes to be coming on one way or another. So I think there's going to be a lot of decisions as a kind of a group here as to what we want, what we want this group to be going forward. I think those we'll be able to discuss maybe a little bit more when we have a few more people available. But I think that's a pretty good summary there, Darcy.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody on the meeting here wants to chime in at any point, feel free. This is your opportunity to whatever say your thoughts that you have about things going forward. So
Shane or Darcy, this is Dave. How many people do you need to have a quorum for your annual general meeting?
I would say at least 50% of the members, and since we've got a membership list that's usually in the 30s to 40s, we wouldn't have nearly enough on this particular meeting to have a quorum. So
how are you going to try? This is the first meeting you've had in 10 months. So how are you going to attract a quorum? You didn't get a quorum today.
Yeah.
So that's going to be an issue.
Yes. Yeah, Dave, sorry, I was going to say there's some issues with how the CIM geological section's framed out and organized in terms of an organization that we've got to get a handle on in the new year. And I mean, it's related to some of the next topic on how we're going to move forward with online talks, but you're exactly right. I mean, if we want to be an organization that's going to hold together, if we're going to do online talks, if we're not going to be able to meet for another 6 months, then there's some structural things with the organization overall that we're going to have to try to address. And how we do that is going to be either doing some digital voting in terms of trying to get the membership to engage on a digital vote, whether it's just our membership is just, it's a bad time of year, or it's just the technological hurdles with it. We're going to have to find some way of getting everybody at least voting or involved on some of the topics that we might bring forth, because we're not going to be able to have an official meeting in this kind of format with this number of people, I don't think. So that's something we'll have to consider, because I think we'll have to meet that requirement some way.
And tell them if they attend, we'll ship a beer to their house.
Yeah,
get them to show up.
That might be the only way to get people to show up. Send them a free beer.
I would have access code to the meeting.
I was surprised. I actually thought we'd get a lot better attendance in this, but I mean, I guess in some ways, depending on the time of year, we've had struggled with smaller meetings before, depending on the topic and the timing. So I guess maybe we shouldn't be too surprised. And with the extra hurdle of the technology, maybe it's just a bad time. So maybe it's something, Dave, we can try to to maybe try another meeting in January when maybe everybody's not as preoccupied with Christmas and holidays and other things, but we'll have to figure something out.
Yeah, I think we will. This organization needs to do some serious thinking, because I disagree with the comment that certain times of the year we struggle. We have a geological community here in Saskatoon, which is easily 4 times, if not more, greater than what they have in Regina with the Saskatchewan Geological Society. Yet we can't get more than 15, 16, 18 people out to our first meeting in 10 months. People aren't in the field drilling right now, and that's always an excuse I hear from this group, is that, oh, well, people are in the field. And we've got a lot of retired geologists in this city, but easily we've got consultants, we've got retired geologists, we've got a university full of academics, and we only had one academic from the university, and I see he's gone now, and that was it. So there is an issue with the image of our CIM. It's just not attracting any interest. And I disagree. It has nothing to do with the time of year. There's been even meetings where we've had luncheons, and we still don't see people from the 3 big companies here in this city. They still don't show up to our luncheons. So there's an image issue, and I don't know how to address that.
Yeah, and I would say, Dave, one thing that we bounced around the thought of is that there's going to be a need for professional development for geoscientists through APEX. And if we can strengthen that angle, and this was actually discussed a bit even at the national level, then we can start providing probably a better reason to get involved, because geologists are going to need to have professional development opportunities over and above. And it's one thing for the major companies because they've got probably more opportunity to provide that training, but it's another thing for all the independent consultant groups and groups like that. Like, I just don't think there's that level of professional development happening outside of that. And maybe if a lot of our members are retired, they don't really need that. They're willing to just let their license lapse or whatever. But I totally agree. I think I don't understand the difference between Saskatoon and Regina either. Whether it's demographics or honestly, I don't have a good explanation for it. We're missing something there. And so that's where we talked about it as an executive, some way of trying to look at how we want to structure and move forward so that we can actually engage. What kind of group do we want to be? Because right now, the SGS is maybe providing some leadership on how it should be looking or acting. And we got to try to figure out as a group how we engage in that similar manner. Is it a matter of just not having the benefit? I don't know how much more benefit we can necessarily provide with it. Maybe if all it was a free lunch, then obviously we got to rethink as to what the purpose of the group is. I mean, it's like financially we're healthy. I mean, we can review the financial report, but nothing's really changed from the last time we really met. We were financially healthy. We got the ability to do this, especially with any kind of online. Yeah, so I mean, and that's Ty was just saying, promoting the CIM within the workplace, and I think that's part of the issue we talked about with CIM National is that we don't get a lot of help or recognition from them, and some of the member chapters also had that struggle. They were like, what, CIM is such nationally known, but you're not really helping us out with promoting locally. But it sounded like most of the local chapters were doing okay. But I agree, Dave. I mean, that's been the topic of the executives' discussion in the last few meetings is looking at that issue to a degree, right?
Mm-hmm. So do we get any promotion from APEGs at all? It seems like I get emails from the Regina Engineering Society and all these other organizations I really don't give 2 shits about. But I've never seen anything about the CIM on it. So I don't know if it's just me being inept when it comes to filling out or ticking the boxes I'm interested in when I reapply every year or when I renew. Would it be an option to have at least our newsletter set up through that so that it's kind of going out to the APEGs list? That way people with those big 3 companies who you presume are registered with APEGs as a requirement of their employment are going to be hearing about it rather than just relying on word of mouth or promoting it in the workplace.
No, that's a good point. It's supposed to be, and I have had talks with with APEGs about sending out our emails, because I get the same ones. I get the Moose Jaw Engineering Society and Saskatoon Engineering Society emails, but I don't ever see any emails from our emails coming back. I actually don't even see the SGS emails coming back. The only reason I'm not a member of the SGS, but I get sent their invites just directly, which I can then have then been passing on to you. So I'm wondering if maybe there is even within APEGs a bit of a, this is just getting missed on this levels as well. I don't know. I've never seen an SGS email come from APEGs either. I don't know if anybody else has, or if it's just me in that regards, but I agree. I think getting ourselves promoted through APEGs is definitely something that we need to, focus on it and work harder on, because, like Darcy mentioned earlier, we are a constituent society, so we do have that link to them. So they in a way, they should be, promoting us in a way, and we should be reaching out to them to do more promotion through them.
Oh, and it's an opportunity to get those CPD credits, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So you come to one of these meetings, you fulfill requirements for APEGs. That's a professional development opportunity, which is ingrained right there. It's as simple as forwarding an email to the broader group. It should be pretty attractive to APEGs to want to do it, especially when there's so many geologists, and none of us see any benefit from paying your $500 a year with the way the group is set up, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And as Darcy kind of mentioned, when it comes to branding, well, maybe and promotion, then maybe it just maybe it's one of those things where the CIM is just not it's a recognizable brand, but maybe it's not that interest. It's maybe not that. In more mineral exploration.
I've got a feeling you said something super critical.
Oh no,
I missed it.
Yeah. You faded out there for about 15 seconds, Shane, but you're back.
It was probably the peak of your talk too. But.
Oh, and I just said like the best, most dynamite thing that you guys would all stand up and do. No, I was just saying, like, basically, I mean, maybe it's as Dave said, we have to do a better job at promoting the CIM, and maybe it's just the fact that the brand of CIM right now just isn't, necessarily that interesting compared to other ones that exist outside, like PDAC, like the Toronto Geologic Discussion Group, like AMEBC, brands like that, or even the SGS in Regina. Like maybe those, just that resonates better with geologists who, especially in Saskatoon, are mostly exploration. Then there's more exploration geologists, I would think, in Saskatoon than there probably are mine geologists, just if I had to, take a wild guess at something. But it could be one of those things, is that just maybe, the brand of CIM doesn't resonate. It's like, oh, the dinosaurs or whatever like that. So it's something that we, yes, as an organization, I think need to focus on.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough problem. One thing is, I mean, the engineers are almost 10 times our size, or 8 times our size for membership. So I mean, all of their groups have got more larger volunteer groups, larger committees, more members, more money. So I mean, I think if we try to compare ourselves to the engineers, it's pretty tough, right?
Yeah, I think there's something like 4,000 engineers and like 400 geologists with APEGs or something, but
yeah. So I mean, part of it is just getting the volunteer time and effort to do that, but we are going to have to think about how we're going to engage and pull in more members, and the APEGs angle is a good one. I think that one's going to hit home, but there's going to be some work required to decide.
Sure. So I don't know, do we want to just kind of move on to the next kind of topic? I know a few people have stepped away, I can see, but just financial update, and then maybe just the call for committee members, and we can put that out as another poll or an email, and then reconvene, I think, in January and see where we're at.
Yep. So I mean, we're sitting at just a hair under 51,000 in the savings account for the CIM group, so that's pretty healthy. And again, our expenses are expensive. Expenses have been zero because basically the only thing we're paying is bank fees since we've been established. So there's not much to report financially. I think the Wolfgang Stedero I think we already paid that out, or do we have that yet to pay?
No, we were going to give her a check at the talk, which never.
Okay, so that's something we'll have to. That's something I realize we'll have to actually set aside some cash for. So that's the only really outgoing cost. And then again, whether or not if we're going to try to continue on with online talks, there'll be some costs associated with that. We are going to circulate a poll on investment of a portion of those savings into a balanced growth fund. Simply because, like before, previously we would set aside some money into a GIC or something a little more low risk. But honestly, with the interest rates being as low as they are, we really don't get much benefit in that. So I think we're looking at. I talked to Scotiabank about putting it into something that's slightly higher risk, but at least we'll get some returns out of it. So you guys should see an email vote come up where we can try to get some response from the membership on whether that's going to be something they're interested in completing. Probably taking 30,000 of the 50,000 and basically investing it, especially if we're going to be months away from having in physical meetings.
I guess finally, the last kind of item just to bring up was the call for executive committee members. Right now, there's the four of us on committee, myself as the branch chairman, Darcy, you are the treasurer, Chris is the program chair, and then Caitlin is the secretary. We do have a past chair position, that was Corey Coase. He hasn't really been around for a while or able to kind of participate. So one of the things we've been looking at is that in order to make sure that our organization stays strong and doesn't kind of get stagnant, is injecting new ideas and new executive into the frame. So what at kind of realigning the way the executive position and the branch chairman position kind of works throughout all of this. So that would include creating a vice branch chair who would take on the role in year one. Year two, they would actually become the branch chair and do that sort of kind of. It just kind of keeps the everything kind of fresh and new and gets some ideas, kind of more ideas coming through. I was just the summary of the vice chair and everything. So so the one thing with that is part of that too is that I think I've been doing this branch chair role now for, I want to say it's been 2 years, and quite honestly I'm starting to get busier and I don't necessarily have as much sometimes the CIM and this role has to kind of slide down the priority list a little bit. So what we're hoping to do is add that vice chair role with the idea that they could take over as branch chairman or chairperson in the next 6 months, kind of replace myself in that role, at which time I would step into the past chair role. So we're looking right now, we'll put out a call. I know there's a few of you on this call still, but if you know of anybody who's interested, wants to get some professional development opportunities, get some opportunities for networking, just to put them in touch with us. We can have an actual vote on it and see, just to try and get some more help here with kind of our day-to-day things. Also with that as well, I don't know, is Chris still here? Yeah, Chris is still here. Chris, I think he's been part of the CIM now for, oh, I don't even know, Chris, how long. I've been here. I've been doing this in various capacities for 8 years, and I know you were here before me. Oh, you're muted.
I don't have a whole lot that's important to say anyway, but I think it's about a decade.
Yeah. Well, Chris has let us know that he's going to be stepping down from the program chair role and the executive committee here. So we are also going to be looking for somebody else to take over that that kind of that role going forward for 2021 and beyond. So with, you know, with that, again, just kind of, if you know of anybody or you yourself want to step up and take over that position. I did it for, you know, a couple of years as well. And you learn a lot, you make a lot of contacts. And again, it's a very good professional kind of networking opportunity and development opportunity. And I guess kind of Chris, since you're here right now, I just want to say thank you for the, you know, everything you've done for the last, we'll say, decade for the CIM here. I think you were treasurer when I came on, and you know, you took over the branch chair role, and for the last couple of years here, and provided a really good program, and you know, really enjoyed getting to know you through this group, and I hope that you know, everything. You know, we can remain in contact, and you're still, you know, once we're able to meet in person, you're able to come back and actually, you know, take some time and enjoy our lunch meetings and you know, get to visit with everybody.
Thanks for that, Shane. I'm not really going anywhere. I'm just sort of going to reallocate my time in the short term here a little bit, as it's pretty busy at work, and the kids are at that stage of life where they're pretty fun to be around too. So it just sort of keeps sort of bumping CIM down the priority list to the point where it feels like it's I'm not doing the job that it deserves, and that I think it's time to refresh the executive a little bit. I sort of stepped into helping out with the executive at a time where some other people had to leave on short notice. And I think at the time when I took over a role, there was no vote. It was because they needed somebody so bad. It was just like, here, please do this. And I don't think I've actually ever been voted on for a particular role. So it's one of those things where it was just sort of helping out where I could and doing sort of a little bit to keep everything going. Thanks for the kind words. You know, I appreciate it. Like I said, I'm not going anywhere. Hopefully I can come back and help out again in the future, but I think I do have to step away for a little longer.
Thank you, Chris. It's yeah, it's been great the last few years here. So take care. I don't know if anybody else has anything else to bring up. Darcy, you know, we've lost Caitlin, so if that's, you got nothing.
I think she's back again.
Maybe she is.
Oh. No, I think that was everything I have. I'll have, like I said, we'll have to maybe send out, see if we can get everybody on email at least to vote on a few specific topics. But yeah, we'll have to maybe just try to plan something. So that maybe if we can get something in order in January, more on a strategic or manner. It sounds like we need a better consideration or a poll or something to put our heads together on what people's intentions are, thoughts are, and moving forward. So absolutely.
Well, if that's it, then I guess we'll call kind of a close to the meeting here today. There'll be a recording. I don't know if I'll send it out, but we'll probably have a link if anybody ever wants to go back and watch it. Same with the video from today's talk. Thanks for taking this time to kind of join us today in this you know, virtual format. Hopefully we're able to see everybody in person, you know, and hopefully 6 months or so once things are a little bit less crazy outside. till then, I guess just thanks and stay safe, and we'll talk to you next year.
Yes, have a good Christmas, everybody.
Yes, same to all of you. Thanks, Chris, Shane, Chrissy, and Caitlin.
Take it easy.
Thumbs to